You ever go on a date that just implodes? Not the awkward kind where conversation dries up or you realize you have nothing in common. I mean a date that crashes and burns so spectacularly that you just sit there, watching in real time as this person ruins their entire life right in front of you. Yeah, that happened to me. And it made the news. I met Michael on a dating app. Seemed nice enough, polite, educated, worked as a Catholic school principal at one of the big private schools in my city. A responsible guy, a pillar of the community. So when he asked me to go shopping and grab coffee, I thought, sure, why not? That was mistake number one. The day started normal. We hit a few stores, chatted, walked around the mall. He was charming, maybe a little full of himself, but nothing that screamed dangerous criminal in the making. Until we walked into a high-end sunglasses store. That's when things started getting weird. He pulled a pair of Gucci sunglasses out of his pocket, ones that, at a glance, looked real. Then he walked right up to the counter and said he wanted to return them. The clerk barely looked at him before laughing. "Yeah, no," she said, shaking her head. "These aren't from our store." Michael insisted. Said he had a receipt. Said he just bought them last week. But the clerk wasn't budging. "These are fake," she said. "I'm not giving you anything for them." And that's when Michael did the dumbest possible thing. He reached into his jacket, pulled out an FBI badge, and flashed it at her. "You're gonna want to rethink that," he said smoothly. I froze. The clerk did too. Then she laughed again. "Dude, what?" Michael didn't even blink. He leaned in, lowering his voice like this was some high-stakes federal case. "I'd hate for us to escalate this, ma'am." The clerk blinked at him, then reached for the store phone. "That's it," she said. "I'm calling the cops." And Michael? He doubled down. "This is official FBI business," he said, flipping open the badge again. And that's when I saw it. It wasn't even a badge, it was a business card, like a flimsy 3-inch by 5-inch business card, with an FBI hologram on it. I stared. Michael stood tall, confident, playing the part, like he had real authority. And for a split second I actually thought, no way, no actual adult is this stupid. But before I could process what the hell was happening, the real cops showed up. When the first detective walked in, I thought, oh, this is actually happening. Michael stood his ground, chin high, shoulders squared, like he was about to get promoted for his outstanding work in high-end luxury sunglasses crime prevention. The store clerk folded her arms. "That's him." Flashed a fake FBI badge. Michael scoffed. Actually scoffed. "Fake? It's not fake," he said, flipping the card open again, like that was gonna save him. The detective didn't even look at the card. He just stared at Michael, like he was debating whether or not to laugh in his face. "Sir," the detective said slowly, "what exactly are you claiming here?" Michael exhaled, clearly annoyed. "Look, I'm not trying to make a big deal out of this, but The detective held up a hand. "Let me stop you right there." Then he pulled out his badge. A real badge, with a real serial number, and real weight behind it. "I'm gonna need you to come with us." I watched Michael's face shift in real time, from confident, to confused, to panicked. He actually looked around like maybe someone was gonna jump in and say, "Haha, gotcha, social experiment." But nobody did. The detective took a step closer. "Sir?" Michael sighed, shook his head. Then, for some insane reason, he actually tried to argue. "This is just a misunderstanding," he said. The detective cut him off. "We have you on camera, sir." That shut him up. The other detective had been standing at the register, reviewing the security footage on the store's monitor. When he looked up, he just nodded. And that was it. The handcuffs came out. Michael's face went from panic to pure shock, like it was just now sinking in that he was about to get arrested on our date. Wait, he stammered. "I think, let's just talk for a second." Click, cuffs locked. And just like that, My date with the fake FBI agent was over. The aftermath. Turns out, Michael wasn't some smooth criminal mastermind. Nope. He was a Catholic school principal, a very well-respected one, a pillar of the community. And he really thought that his brother-in-law's FBI business card, which happened to have a hologram on it, could pass as a badge. Oh, and did I mention? This wasn't his first time doing it. Apparently, the detectives had been building a case on him for a while, tracking multiple fraud attempts. The only reason they caught him that night was because he was stupid enough to try it in a store with security cameras that caught the whole thing. A week later, the story made the news. Catholic school principal arrested for flashing fake FBI badge in retail scam. My phone blew up. People I hadn't talked to in years were sending me the link. Didn't you go on a date with this guy? Yup, sure did. And I got to witness firsthand the moment he destroyed his entire career over a pair of fake Gucci sunglasses. And the best part? His school had no idea. They found out the same way everyone else did, from the headlines. Moral of the story: if your date starts talking big, flashing badges, and trying to commit fraud in front of you, maybe don't stick around to see how that story ends. Or do. Because I got a hell of a story out of it. Dating in Los Angeles is like playing Russian roulette, except instead of a bullet, you might end up stuck in someone's garage all night, drugged, falsely accused of causing a miscarriage, and questioning all of your life choices. Which is exactly what happened to me. I met Megan, not her real name, but let's roll with it, on a dating app. She looked normal, cute even. A little too polished, but nothing that screamed danger ahead. We made plans to meet up in West Hollywood. She picked the restaurant, some obscenely expensive sushi spot where the servers act like you should be grateful to be breathing the same air as the raw fish. She showed up 30 minutes late, and when she finally walked in, I barely recognized her. Her pictures were at least 40 pounds ago, edited to another dimension. But it wasn't just that. Her energy was off, like she was already on something. She sat down, barely greeted me, and immediately started talking about her dad. Apparently, he was Ozzy Osbourne's cardiologist, or his neighbor, or maybe both. She changed the story 3 times. I just nodded along, trying to process how I went from looking forward to dinner to mentally mapping my nearest escape route. Then she got up and disappeared into the bathroom. For a while, I should have left, but I was hungry, and the sushi was expensive. When she came back, her nose was red, her pupils were huge, and she started talking, fast, didn't touch her food, just picked at it, ranted about fake friends, and snorted, like actually physically snorted, every time she laughed. Then she got up again, back to the bathroom. This cycle repeated 3 more times. By the end of dinner, she was a train wreck. But for some reason, I still let her convince me to come back to her place. That was mistake number 1. Against my better judgment, I agreed to go back to her place. In my defense, I wasn't thinking with my brain. Megan lived in a massive Hollywood Hills mansion, the kind with floor-to-ceiling windows and furniture nobody actually sits on. She bragged about how her dad paid for it. I nodded, pretending to be impressed, but internally I was thinking, God, I should not be here. Then came the red flag I couldn't ignore. She poured us drinks, and right in front of me, I watched her drop something into mine. Like visibly. No shame, no attempt to be sneaky. Just straight up spiked my drink like she was adding ice cubes. I froze. For a split second, I thought, maybe it's just a sugar cube or some bougie Hollywood drink thing? Then I looked at her face, and she was watching me, like a science experiment, waiting. I held the glass but didn't drink, pretended to take a sip. Megan smiled. Then she leaned in, voice low. Tie me up. I blinked. What? She pouted. You heard me. Tie. Me. Up. I laughed nervously. Yeah, I don't think that's a good idea. Her face dropped. And suddenly, she wasn't flirty. She was angry, like I'd just insulted her entire bloodline. She snatched her drink off the counter and chugged it, glaring at me like I'd ruined her night. That's when I made my next mistake. I said, all right, well, I should probably get going. And her mood flipped again. No, stay, she said sweetly. grabbing my arm. I pulled away. Nah, I gotta work in the morning. She smiled. That's cute. You think you're leaving? I laughed. She didn't. Next thing I knew, she blocked the garage door. Wouldn't let me take my car out. Just sleep here, she said. I'd rather not, I said. She giggled like I was joking, but I wasn't. She refused to open the garage. Said it was too late to drive. I told her I'd call an Uber instead. She laughed again, leaned in close and whispered, "You're not leaving." That's when I realized. I was locked in. My car was in her garage, and unless I physically rammed the door, I wasn't going anywhere. I checked my phone. No service. I took a deep breath. "All right," I said. "I'll just chill in my car." She smiled. Good boy. Then she went to bed, and I sat in my locked car, in her garage, for the entire night. I sat in my car for hours, checked my phone. Still no service. The garage was silent. No windows, no ventilation. Just the hum of the house above me and the occasional creak of the old pipes. I thought about ramming the garage door. Thought about sneaking back inside to unlock it manually. But something told me, don't go back in there, so I just waited. Tried to sleep, but my body was too wired, running through every single bad decision that had led me to this psychotic situation. I kept picturing her watching me from the security cameras, or worse, coming back downstairs, to find me exactly where she wanted me. At some point around 6 a.m., I heard movement above me, the sound of someone else leaving the house. I tensed. Then the garage started to open. It wasn't Megan. It was someone else, some random guy in a suit. Maybe a worker, maybe a family member, I didn't care. The second that door was up high enough, I floored it. I tailed his car out of the driveway and onto the road, not stopping, not looking back, not breathing until I was at least 2 blocks away. I didn't even check my phone until I was on the freeway. When I finally did, 30 missed calls, all from her. I ignored them, ignored the texts, the voicemails. 3 days later, she left me a final message. A long, slow sigh, and then, "I hope you're happy. You made me lose my baby." I froze. I had no idea she was pregnant, no idea if she was even telling the truth. But I knew one thing for sure. That was the last time I ever spoke to her. A month later, I checked her Instagram, because let's be real, you'd check too. She was in Tulum, posting bikini pictures, partying, like nothing happened, like I never existed, like she hadn't just trapped me in her garage and tried to drug me. That's LA dating for you. Moral of the story? If she brags about her dad's money, does coke in the bathroom all night, and tries to slip you something in your drink, run, or at the very least park on the street. I should have known this date was going to be a disaster the second he called himself a wizard. But let's back up. I met Ethan on a dating app. Decent profile, normal-looking guy. Nothing that screamed absolute lunatic. We had a nice vibe online. He was funny, articulate, didn't immediately ask for pics. So when he suggested a walk and talk through my favorite park, I thought, why not? Worst case scenario, I get some fresh air. That was mistake number 1. I got there on time. He showed up 15 minutes late. No apology. Just waved dramatically like he was making an entrance at Comic-Con. The first thing I noticed? The cape. Okay, not a full cape, but one of those flowy trench coats that people who think they have mysterious auras wear. "Sorry I'm late," he said, pushing his hair back. I was in deep meditation. All right. We start walking. At first, it's fine. Small talk, normal pleasantries. Then, out of nowhere. "So, do you believe in magic?" I laughed, thinking he was joking. He wasn't. "I mean, real magic," he continued. "Not illusions, not tricks. The true ancient energy of the universe." Oh no. I smiled awkwardly. I don't know, maybe?" Big mistake. His entire face lit up. "I knew it," he whispered. "I could tell from your energy." And just like that, I was trapped in a 45-minute TED Talk about his gifts. Apparently he could. Read auras, control the weather, predict the future, but only sometimes. summon cosmic energy to influence people's emotions, which explains nothing about why he was still single. Every time I tried to change the subject, he'd steer it right back to his wizardry. At one point, he stopped walking, closed his eyes, and took a deep breath. I thought maybe he was just centering himself. Nope. He held out his hands and said, "Do you feel it?" I blinked. "Feel what?" "The shift," he said dramatically. "I just realigned the air around us." "Buddy, the only thing shifting was my patience." About an hour in, I started casually angling us back toward the parking lot. That's when he said, "Hey, can you give me a ride?" I blinked. "A ride where?" "To the bus station." "Wait. The bus station?" I asked. "You didn't drive here?" "No," he said, shaking his head like it was obvious. "I don't own a car. The universe provides." Yeah, well, the universe wasn't driving his ass to the bus station. I was. I should have said no, but I was too polite. So I said, "Sure." That was mistake number 2. I knew I shouldn't have agreed to drive him, but part of me was morbidly curious. Like, what's the endgame here? Was he going to try to cast a spell on me? Ask for a lock of my hair to harness my energy? Spoiler, it was worse. We got to my car, and I noticed 2 things immediately. He didn't even say thank you. Just acted like this was expected. He adjusted his trench coat in a weird way, like he was trying to hide something. We started driving. The bus station was only 5 minutes away. That's it. 5 minutes. And this man still managed to make it the worst 5 minutes of my life. About 2 minutes into the drive, right as I was mentally drafting the text I was going to send my friends about this insane date, he sighed dramatically. "I wish you'd let me read your aura," he said, staring out the window. I fake laughed. "Yeah, maybe next time." He turned to me, dead serious. "There won't be a next time." All right, cool. Nothing terrifying about that sentence at all. But before I could even respond, he shifted uncomfortably in his seat. Then, in the most casual voice imaginable, he said, "Hey, I gotta pee." I blinked. "What?" "I gotta pee," he repeated, shifting again. "We're literally 2 minutes from the bus station," I said. "Yeah, but I really gotta go." I gripped the wheel a little tighter. "Can you hold it?" He exhaled loudly, like I was being unreasonable. "I mean, I can try," he muttered, "but I have a fast metabolism." What the hell does that have to do with peeing? I ignored him, focused on the road, because, surely, this grown-ass man could hold it for another 2 minutes, right? Wrong. I pulled into the bus station lot, put the car in park, turned to him and said, "Okay, we're here." And that's when I saw it, the wet spot. Dark, spreading, right on his khaki-colored pants. I froze. My brain short-circuited, because this grown wizard had just peed himself. In my passenger seat. And the worst part? He didn't even look embarrassed. He just sighed, pulled his coat around him and mumbled, "Damn. Should have listened to my body. Buddy." Your body had been screaming, and yet, here we were. He got out of the car, like nothing happened. Didn't say thank you. Didn't apologize. Didn't even hurry. Just casually walked into the bus station like he hadn't just ruined my day and my upholstery. I sat there for a full 30 seconds, just processing. Then before I could stop myself, I burst out laughing. Because what else can you do when a grown man wizard pisses himself in your car? I drove home with all my windows down, praying that whatever dark energy he left behind wouldn't haunt me. Moral of the story? If your date starts talking about controlling the weather, demanding aura readings, or calling himself a wizard, leave immediately, maybe even call the cops. I should have known this was going to be a disaster the second I saw the bright yellow Camaro. It pulled up, engine revving aggressively, like a toddler demanding attention. And there he was, Navy boy, leaning out the driver's side window, grinning like he was about to star in a Fast and Furious sequel. "Hop in," he said. I hesitated, because something about his grip on the wheel told me he had no idea how to drive this thing. Still, I got in. Mistake number one. We decided to walk along the boardwalk. It was a hot day, and it seemed like an easy way to pass the time without awkward small talk. But first, we had to park, and that's when it happened. He pulled into a tight spot in a parking garage, misjudged the turn, and bang. A long, painful screech of metal against metal. He had sideswiped the car next to us. Bright yellow paint streaked across the other car's door. I sat there, waiting for him to react. Nothing. He acted like it didn't happen. I stared at him. I think you hit the car next to us. He blinked, sighed dramatically, then got out, inspected the damage for a whole 2 seconds, got back in and said, I guess we should park somewhere else. Before I could even process that, he peeled out of the spot like we were escaping a crime scene. Because, well, we were. That was the moment I knew. This wasn't just a bad date. This was a liability. There was something deeply unsettling about being an accomplice to a hit and run before a date even properly started. I should have called it right then and there. But instead, I just sat there in stunned silence as he sped out of the parking garage like we had just robbed a bank. I tried to rationalize it. Maybe he'd panic called the owner later, left a note, anything. Spoiler, he didn't. We got to the boardwalk, and I had never wanted fresh air more in my life. But the second we stepped out of the Camaro, I realized something else. It was miserably hot. Like skin melting, pavement steaming. Why did we think this was a good idea hot? We walked for a whole 10 minutes before he started complaining. This sucks, he muttered, pulling at his shirt. You want to just see a movie? I had no objections. Anything to sit in air conditioning and process the fact that I had witnessed a felony. So we went to the nearest theater. I don't even remember checking what was playing. And that's how I found myself sitting in a dark, half-empty theater, watching Shrek, the final chapter on a date with a guy who had committed a crime 20 minutes ago. It was already bad. Then it got worse. He propped his feet up on the seat in front of us. At first, I didn't care. Until a man walked in, holding his toddler daughter. The theater was mostly full, and the only open seats were the ones directly in front of us. The dad hesitated, glancing at Navy Boy's feet still resting there. I thought, surely he'll move them. He didn't. The dad leaned forward to sit, and Navy Boy actually pushed his feet forward, hit him in the head. The dad turned, staring at us. Navy Boy sighed loudly, dragged his feet down, and then turned to me and muttered, "My feet were there first." I blinked, because what do you even say to that? That was it. That was the moment the universe itself told me to run. When the movie ended, he asked if I wanted to grab dinner. I said no. I wanted out. He drove me home, barely shifting gears properly, and when we got there, he actually grinned at me. So, when can I see you again? I stared at him. Was he serious? I threw out some random excuse, some vague, "I'll let you know," so I wouldn't have to explain to him that his personality was a series of warning labels. I got inside, locked the door, and immediately blocked his number. And that was the last I ever heard from him, thankfully. Because nothing about that man belonged on the streets, or behind a steering wheel. Dating is hard. Dating as a bisexual girl? Somehow even harder. I went into this date expecting lesbian things. Flirty banter, maybe a cute girl with a nose ring talking about astrology. At the very least, some good vibes. Instead, I got gas station tacos, a stubbly mustache, and a TED Talk on how much my taste in music sucks. Let's back up. I matched with Jess, not her real name, but let's roll with it, on a dating app. Her photos were fine, nothing amazing, but passable. A couple of selfies, a full body shot, nothing that screamed danger ahead. She asked me to dinner. Cool. Then she told me where we were going, a gas station taco stand. I laughed, thinking she was joking. She was not. That was red flag number one. But fine. I like tacos. I figured, whatever. Maybe it's one of those hidden gems. It was not. I showed up on time. She was already there, leaning against a beat-up Corolla, pants unzipped, like, visibly. First thought, oh no. Second thought, maybe she doesn't realize. Then she turned to me and I got my first real look at her. Stubbly mustache, greasy hair, smelled like old fries and bad decisions, and my brain just went, abort, abort, abort. But I'm too nice. So I stayed. And that was mistake number 15 at this point, and we are barely halfway into the date. I should have left the moment I saw the unzipped pants, or maybe the stubbly mustache, or perhaps when I got a whiff of whatever unholy combination of body odor and stale grease was radiating off of her. But no, I stayed, because I'm an idiot. We ordered tacos from the sketchy stand attached to a Circle K. The guy working the grill looked at me like he felt sorry for me, like he knew I wasn't supposed to be here. We sat down at one of those sticky plastic tables, and that's when the real fun began. Your music taste is awful. That was the first thing she said. Not, hey, how's your day? Or, nice to finally meet you. Just a blunt, emotionless takedown of whatever bands I had mentioned in passing during our texts. I blinked. Oh, okay. She took a huge, disgusting bite of her taco, chewed with her mouth open. I mean, seriously, who actually likes that shit? I forced a laugh. Me? She shook her head. Nah, you don't actually like it. You just think you do. I stared at her. What does that even mean? She shrugged, then launched into a 20-minute rant about how depressing and dead-end her life was. How much she hated her job in fast food. How much she hated her coworkers. How much she hated her customers. How much she hated herself. And I sat there, nodding along, sipping my questionable Circle K lemonade, wondering how the hell I got here. Then, as if the night couldn't get worse, she let out the nastiest burp I have ever heard. Didn't excuse herself, didn't laugh it off. Just went right back to complaining like she didn't just unleash a demonic sound straight from the depths of hell. That was it. I had to get out. At this point, I had two options. Ghost her mid-meal and risk getting yelled at in a gas station parking lot. Make sure she never wants to see me again. I chose option 2. I took a deep breath, channeled every unhinged girl I had ever met, and became a menace to society. I leaned in, lowering my voice. So, I gotta be honest with you. I have a bit of a crazy streak. Jess looked up, interested for the first time all night. Oh yeah? She said, licking mystery sauce off her fingers. What do you mean? I let out a slow, creepy giggle. You ever been so in love with someone that you just can't let them go? Her face froze mid-chew. I kept going. I mean, my last ex? I was obsessed. I widened my eyes, trying to look as unhinged as possible. I followed him everywhere. Her taco paused halfway to her mouth. I even slashed his tires once, I said, lowering my voice like it was a dark secret. Jess blinked. Oh, she said. Wow. I leaned in closer. But, like, I don't care about legal stuff, you know? I just do whatever I want. Jess swallowed hard. That's, wild. I nodded enthusiastically. Oh, and I also do a ton of drugs. Like a bad improv actor, I just started making up shit. Yeah, I mean, I love meth, I said, throwing in a random drug for effect. Sometimes I just sit outside people's houses for fun, see what they're up to, smell their laundry. I was really committed at this point. Jess's face turned pale. Oh, she said again. Cool. She was visibly uncomfortable. Mission accomplished. I leaned back, sipping my drink, acting all casual. Then I threw in the final nail in the coffin. I just love being needed, you know? It's like, if I'm not the center of someone's life, what's the point? Jess checked her phone. And then, I should probably go. Success. She never texted me again. No, had a great time. No, wanna hang out again? Nothing. Radio silence. I had successfully scared her away. Dating in LA? Hard. But at least I dodged a bullet. Dating in a military town is like a lottery. Except instead of winning money, you win a guy who talks about the army for 3 straight hours, tries to catfish check you in real life, and then expects you to split the bill at Olive Garden. So yeah, not exactly a jackpot. I met Ryan on MySpace, yes, MySpace. This was back in the day when everyone had a cringy song playing on their profile, and your top 8 could end friendships. Ryan was decent looking. Nothing special, but not bad. He was new in town, seemed friendly enough. And since we lived in a military city, meeting new soldiers was kind of a regular thing. So we made plans. I told him to meet me at my job, a movie theater. I figured it was a safe public spot. Turns out, that didn't matter. Because Ryan was already planning to test me. I was standing in the lobby, looking cute, waiting with a coworker when he called. Ryan, hey, I'm out front. Can you walk to the windows and see if you see me? Now, let me paint a picture here. The lobby had huge bay windows lining the whole front. If he was outside, I would have seen him, but I figured maybe he's just lost. So I walked over, scanning the parking lot, not seeing the car he described. And then, a tap on my shoulder. I turned, and there he was, standing behind me, already in the lobby, for 10 minutes. I stared at him. Wait, were you here the whole time? Ryan smirked. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure you weren't a troll. A troll. I blinked. Excuse me? Ryan shrugged. I mean, you looked cute in your pictures, but you never know. Wow. Thanks, dude. Off to a great start. I should have left right there. The catfish check was insulting enough, but I was young and dumb and figured, maybe he's just awkward? Maybe it'll get better? Spoiler, it did not get better. We got into his dusty-ass sedan and headed to Olive Garden. Why Olive Garden? Because according to Ryan, it's the closest thing to real Italian food in this city. I stared at him. Have you ever been to Italy? Ryan scoffed. No, but I've had MREs in Afghanistan. Same thing. Uh-huh. We got inside, sat down, and before I even had time to open the menu, Ryan started talking. About the army, about how he hated it, about how his parents hated it, about how his commanders sucked, about how his barracks were gross, about how he was thinking of going AWOL. I was nodding along at first, thinking, okay, venting, I get it. Then I realized this wasn't venting. This was a 3-hour hostage situation. Ryan talked nonstop. I couldn't get a word in. Every time I tried, he just kept going. I didn't even have to be there. He could have ranted to a brick wall and had the same experience. And to make matters worse, he barely touched his food, which meant I had to sit there, slowly eating my fettuccine Alfredo, praying for death. Eventually, the check came. I reached for my wallet out of habit, expecting to go half. I'm not one of those "the man has to pay" girls. But the way he handled it? Absolutely not. Ryan leaned back, not even reaching for his own wallet, just smirked and went, "You got yours, right?" Not a question. A statement. Like it was obvious. Like I was lucky he even let me sit across from him while he ranted about the army for 3 hours. I locked eyes with him, tight-lipped smile. Yeah, I got mine. Thanks again, dude. After dinner, he drove me back to my car, did not thank me for sitting through his TED Talk on military regret, did not acknowledge how one-sided the whole night had been. Nope. Instead, he tried to kiss me. I jumped out of the car so fast I almost tripped. Didn't say goodbye, didn't look back. Just power walked to my car like I was being chased by a demon. Ryan texted me 2 days later, something about hanging out again. I blocked his number mid-message. Moral of the story? If a guy makes you prove you're not a troll, run. If he only talks about himself, run faster. And if he's the kind of guy who calls Olive Garden real Italian food, just delete his number on sight. There's nothing quite like getting rejected mid-pickup to really humble you. I was standing outside that night, all dressed up, excited, actually looking forward to the date. It wasn't like I thought this guy was the one, but I figured at the very least, we'd have a nice time. That was mistake number 1. Because instead of pulling up and greeting me, he just drove past. And then I got the text. "I can't go out with you. I'm too superficial." I stared at my phone, read it again. Because what the actual fuck? For a second, I thought maybe I was misreading it, like maybe he meant something else. Maybe this was some weird inside joke I wasn't getting. Then I looked up and saw his car, a few houses down. He was still sitting there. He had actually driven by, looked at me, and decided in real time that I didn't meet his aesthetic standards, and then had the audacity to text me about it. I don't even remember going back inside. I just remember the feeling of absolute humiliation, like I knew he was a douchebag, but something about seeing it happen in real time, watching his car slow down, process, and keep going, made it so much worse. And then, oh, it got worse. Because 10 minutes later, I got another text. I was still sitting on my bed, staring at my phone, trying to process how a guy could be so much of an asshole that he drove past me in real time and texted me that he was too superficial to go through with the date. Like, buddy, you could have ghosted. You could have faked a family emergency. Hell, you could have just lied. But no, you had to announce your shallowness like it was a personality trait. And then, my phone buzzed. A new text. From him. Okay, we can have sex, but no dating or relationship stuff. I blinked. Sat there for a full 10 seconds. Because surely I was having some kind of stress-induced hallucination. But no, it was real. This man, this actual human person, had just told me he was too shallow to be seen in public with me. But sex? Sex was still on the table. Like I was supposed to read that and go, oh wow, what an opportunity. Let me drop everything and run into the arms of a man who just drove past me like I was roadkill. I stared at my phone, genuinely stunned. And then, I did the only logical thing. I screenshotted the texts, blocked his number, and spent the rest of the night in sweatpants, eating ice cream, and texting my friends about the dumbest man alive. A few months later, I was out with some friends when I saw him again, at a bar, with a different girl. And let me tell you, Buddy was not a model. He looked like the human equivalent of unseasoned chicken. And yet, somehow, he had the confidence of a man who thought he was God's gift to women. I don't know if he saw me, but if he did, I hope he knows that every time I tell this story, he is the punchline. Moral of the story? If a guy ever drives past you and texts you that he's too superficial to date you, block him, laugh about it, and go find someone who actually deserves you. Online dating is a gamble. Sometimes you roll the dice and meet someone cool. Other times, you end up at Red Robin, sipping a milkshake, questioning your entire existence while your date cusses out a waitress over a drink she literally ordered. Guess which one happened to me? I met Rachel on a dating app. Her pictures were normal. She seemed cute, kinda shy, but I figured, why not? Big mistake. First lesson learned? Always call before the date. Because the second she greeted me at the restaurant, I nearly flinched. Her voice. I don't even know how to describe it. Imagine a broken smoke alarm, a car with bad brakes, and Gilbert Gottfried having a panic attack, all rolled into one. It wasn't just shrill. It was painful. Like every word she spoke cut through my skull like glass shards. But I tried to push past it. Be polite. Give her a chance. That was mistake number 2. We sat down, and within 5 minutes, she was already oversharing. So yeah, I've never had a boyfriend before. Well, except for my online boyfriend. I nodded, sipping my milkshake. Oh, cool. How long did you guys date? She sighed dramatically. 3 years. I choked. 3 years? She nodded. Yeah. He was in Texas, and I live here, so we never met in person, but it was real. I loved him. I blinked. So, you guys never met? No, she said. But it was serious. At that point, I knew this date was a mistake. Then the drink incident happened. She ordered a freckled lemonade, which, if you don't know, literally has strawberries in it. It's in the name. It's in the picture on the menu. But the second the waitress put it down in front of her, Rachel lost it. What the fuck is this? The entire table next to us turned to look. The waitress froze. That's the freckled lemonade? Rachel pointed at the strawberries like they were bugs in her drink. I didn't fucking ask for this. My stomach sank. The waitress, poor girl, maybe 19 at best, was trying to stay professional. I can get you something else, Rachel scoffed. Yeah, do that. And maybe listen next time. I wanted to die. The waitress walked away, and I turned to Rachel, keeping my voice low. Dude, what the hell was that? She rolled her eyes. Oh, please. She was rude. She was literally not rude. Rachel crossed her arms. Whatever. I don't like strawberries. I stared at her. Then why did you order a drink with strawberries? And that's when the date completely crashed and burned. I sat there, stunned. This girl just cursed out a waitress for bringing her the exact drink she ordered, then tried to act like she was the victim. So I called her out. You literally ordered a freckled lemonade, I said, keeping my voice low because I still had some level of shame. It has strawberries in it. That's what makes it freckled. Rachel scoffed, like I was the one being unreasonable. Oh my God, whatever. I just don't like fruit in my drinks, okay? I rubbed my temples. Then, why didn't you order a normal lemonade? She exhaled loudly, like I was exhausting her. I didn't think it would have actual strawberries in it. I blinked. It's literally in the name. She waved a hand at me. Why are you making this a big deal? I gestured toward the waitress, who was still rattled, trying to avoid looking at us. Because you screamed at her over your own mistake? And just like that, she turned on me. Oh my God. Are you seriously gonna act like this? I don't need a guy lecturing me about how to order a drink. I took a deep breath. I'm not lecturing you. I'm saying don't be a dick to people for no reason. She crossed her arms. Maybe you should just leave then. And for the first time all night, she said something I actually agreed with. Yeah, I said, standing up. Good idea. Then I realized my wallet was still on the table, and I had to awkwardly sit back down for a second to grab it, which ruined my dramatic exit. But whatever. I stood up again, dropped some cash on the table, and muttered, "Have a nice life." And then I walked out of Red Robin like I had just survived a near-death experience. The second I got in my car, I blocked her. Didn't answer when she texted later saying, "I hope you realize you're a total jerk." And when I told my friend about it later, he lost it laughing. Dude, you seriously sat through that entire thing? Look, man, I sighed. I just wanted a milkshake. Moral of the story, always call before the first date. If they're rude to service workers, run. And for the love of God, if you don't like fruit in your drinks, don't order a freckled lemonade.